Alright, so I realize that I'm a day or two late with this. Halloween has passed, obviously, but on Halloween night I watched Netflix's new stop-motion animated feature, Wendell and Wild, which is directed by Henry Selick, the same person who brought us The Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline, and also co-written by Henry Selick and Peele, you know, from Key and Peele fame, but also who did Get Out and other such horror films. This immediately piqued my interest. It also stars Key and Peele as Wendell and Wild. I hadn't heard of this movie until Halloween night, essentially, so I watched it, and I went in obviously with pretty high expectations, and while I was a little bit disappointed, overall this movie is a great time, a good Halloween flick. There's some spectacular visuals, some great characters, some good themes going on here, but it feels like there was a little too much going on in the movie. I felt myself feeling kind of whiplash between scenes. I could follow the plot, I understood how everything connected, it all met up very nicely at the end, but as exposition was happening, as things were being set up, I just couldn't help but feel like, oh god, well now we have a murder plot line over here, and we've got demons over here, we've got a girl being released from juvie and going to a Catholic private school here. Like, there's just very different things going on, and I think that's the main issue with this movie, is that there's a lot going on. I think it does all of it fairly well, but there's just so much that sometimes the movie feels like it's going at breakneck pace, or once or twice you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's part of this world, or the ending left me with a couple questions of like, oh, what happens to this character, since we know that her parents are these characters and that happens to them, but now since that happens to her parents, what happens to her? And it also makes me go, oh, okay, the carnival that we see in the land of the demons or whatever is scary and wild, and like that's a great sequence. I honestly wish that we got to see more of it, because it was a great setup for the story of these demons, but we don't actually spend a whole lot of time at this chaotic carnival that makes great visual spectacles and is kind of our biggest dip into an other world that Henry Selick movies are great for, like especially the movies that I mentioned before, Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. We don't really spend a whole lot of time in this other world. In fact, none of the characters that we really follow interact with this other world. So aside from wanting to see more of it, the way that it's depicted in the beginning of the movie made me go, about its kind of what happens with it at the very end of the movie. It makes me go, oh, these purposes don't seem to line up, and I don't get how there's just, some things that I wish were tightened up in the script, or explained better, or maybe even drawn out, like maybe if the movie had an extra, like 20 minutes or so onto it to expand on some of these things. So that's the biggest, like, disappointment feeling that I had going into it. So I wanted to get that set up front, because this movie obviously is sitting on some huge shoulders of giants, essentially. I mean, Henry Selick, Jordan Peele are excellent at their craft, and I wouldn't have thought to combine them together, but they really do make a great product. It's visually stunning, the characters are great, there are some subversions in tropes and character plots that you think you know where they're going, but they're actually a little bit different, so the movie does keep you guessing a bit with some of these characters. If you're like, oh, I really liked Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline, expect more Coraline-esque, but it's completely different than both of those two projects. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of Kubo and the Two Strings a little bit, or even like the Odyssey, just in that like lots of events happening, lots of different characters. But it all fits together nicely. There's a great social commentary, which you kind of expect from a Jordan Peele movie about private prisons. I think it all works really well. It's lots of fun. I mean, this movie is a work of art. It really, truly is a work of art. And while I have some critiques with it, I'm very glad that it exists. I'm definitely going to be watching more of it in the future, especially in building up to Halloween seasons to come. I think this is a good Halloween movie that doesn't quite rise to the heights as Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline, but is definitely worth checking out. Definitely a good time. And it's got some creepy elements in it, a little bit farther than some of Henry Selick's previous movies were able to go, because this one is rated PG-13 as opposed to, I think the other two are rated PG. And, I mean, this probably should go without saying, but Key and Peele's characters are absolutely hilarious. Wendell and Wild are great together. I really want to see, like, just behind-the-scenes footage of the two of them in their recording studios just riffing off of each other, because it really has some great energy and vibes there. The whole cast is great in this movie. There's some really funny laugh-out-loud moments. Very glad that I watched it, even though it's not quite as good as I was maybe hoping it to be, but I was hoping for a timeless masterpiece, and what I got instead was a great film. So, disappointing, sure, but not a disappointment, if that makes sense. Alright, well, that ends Halloween season 2022. I guess next thing that's coming up is Thanksgiving, so maybe we'll be talking about some, like, family things. I've been building up some videos in my backlog for Christmas and Hanukkah season, so we've got some stuff coming up here. Subscribe if you want to see that. Let me know what you think of this movie down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good week.